Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Comfort Fashion and my sign language interpreter is Shegun Ajayi. Let's start with the headlines. Leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, convicted for terrorism act. A Philippine court on sentenced a Chinese national and 7 others to life imprisonment on human trafficking. United Nations Security Council call for collective efforts to eradicate terrorism in the Sahel region and across Africa. The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has been convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment for engaging in acts of terrorism. Justice James Omotosho gave the verdict in the absence of the convict, who was led out of court for disrupting proceedings through his unruly behavior. Judiciary correspondent Austin Ayebe reports.
The court found Nnamdi Kanu guilty, convicts and sentenced him to life imprisonment on count 1, 2, 4 and 5 of the 7 counts bordering on acts of terrorism punishable under the Terrorism Prohibition and Prevention Act of 2022 as amended. Nnamdi Kanu was sentenced to 20 and 5 years without fine in other counts. The court ordered that he should be kept in a safe correctional center in any part of the country, deny access to electronic gadgets, and have his radio transmitter forfeited to the federal government. Relying on the evidence of the prosecution, since the convict failed to enter his defense, the judge said the prosecution has proved that the convict is an international terrorist going by his actions, insightful comments on radio broadcasts, hatred for the Nigerian state, and even the people he claimed to be defending. The court held that his engagement in guerrilla warfare led to the death of several innocent people, including the former special advisor to Goodluck Jonathan, Ahmed Gulag, several security personnel, destruction of more than 160 police stations, 9 INEC offices across the country. The court, chronicling the evidence of the prosecution, held that the video and audio evidence proved that Nnamdi Kanu was not in any way agitating for self-determination, but merely terrorizing people, including the Igbos, having denied them opportunities to carry out their lawful economic activities. Justice Omotosho said he cannot hide under a repealed law and unlawful rendition to evade justice, as the amended Terrorism Act 2022 stipulates that all pending proceedings, punishment under the repealed law may be taken, while the unlawful rendition which the convict laid claim to is of no effect, having been arraigned in a court in Nigeria before he jumped bail and rearrested in Kenya. The court held that Nigeria remains an indivisible entity, hence any section agitating for self-determination must follow the laid-down processes.
Today, God has brought an end to injustice, oppression, suffered by our brothers and sisters of the eastern states of Nigeria. They will not be able to sleep with their 2 eyes closed. What is important is that every Nigerian must consider issue of security as his personal business.
The verdict is not consistent with the evidence laid before the court. The sentence is overbroad, cruel, and unusual. We disagree with the judgment vehemently.
Completely.
Yes.
And we are going to fight it from here onwards until justice is done.
Yes. He said the convict has 90 days from 20th of November 2025 to appeal the judgment. From the Federal High Court, Abuja, Austin Ayebe, NTA News.
The Department of State Services, DSS, has filed terrorism charges against 7 IPOB key commanders linked to Simon Ekpa before a federal high court in Abuja. In the 3 separate cases filed on 19th November, the 7 suspects were accused of receiving funds and other material support from Simon Ekpa and other foreign-based members of IPOB. A key suspect, Ibrahim Ali Larabo, accused of terrorism financing, is an illegal immigrant from the Republic of Niger, operating a bureau de change without a license. He provided financial services for the Simon Ekpa-led proscribed group, receiving and disbursing large sums of money for IPOB terrorism activities in the southeast. The suspects were established to be IPOB commanders, arms dealers, couriers, ESN fighters, and foot soldiers funded and directed by Simon Ekpa. Also, the DSS has successfully prosecuted Ismaila, aka Maitangaran, the terrorist who coordinated the 2012 attacks on the police headquarters in Bombay, Kano State, and other critical facilities, resulting in many injuries. Ismaila was convicted and sentenced by Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja. The trial, which began in 2017, ended on 18th November when Justice Nwite pronounced his verdict. Ismaila, one of the leaders of the Islamic State of West Africa, ISWAP, was convicted on the 4-count charge brought against him by the Department of State Services under the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. Justice Nwite sentenced him to 15 years in relation to count 1 and 20 years on count 2, 3 and 4. The sentences are to run concurrently. The DSS, in a statement signed by Favor Dozie, Deputy Director, Public Relations and Strategic Communications of Service, said the service had earlier filed cases against 2 internationally wanted terror suspects, Mahmoud Muhammad Usman, aka Mahmouda, and Abubakar Abba, aka Abu Bara, whose trial will resume before Justice Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja on 15th January 2026. The prosecution of Khalid al-Barnawi, accused of being the mastermind of the UN complex bombing on 26 August 2011. Al-Barnawi continues, alongside 4 others, is being prosecuted for his involvement in the bombing. 5 others are arraigned on a 9-count charge before the Federal High Court in Abuja in suits over their alleged involvement in the June 5, 2022 attack on St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State, equally being prosecuted by the DSS. Area 10 suspects arrested in connection with attacks in Benue State and Plateau State. Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak has visited Eruku in Ekiti local government area of the state to sympathize with the people following Tuesday's bandit attacks. The governor reiterated his administration's commitment to ending banditry and kidnapping in all parts of the state. Aisha Abubakar Yahaya has the reports.
Eruku community was recently attacked by bandits, with 2 people killed and some others whisked away in the process. Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak, who was in Eruku to identify and sympathize with residents, especially families who were directly affected, condemned the attack, saying Eruku people are not alone in this incident, while commending President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for the deployment of additional troops to the state. The governor called for more collaboration to tackle the security challenges facing the state. He also reassured the community that peace and safety would be restored in no distant time.
Our main purpose here is to commiserate with you and the community and to see how much more help we can render here. All the state agencies are on this. The president had to cancel his trip to G20 for the G20 meeting in South Africa because of this incident and also what happened in Kebbi State, unfortunately. And he sends his condolences as well.
Bandits came to our church, CSO Keshegun, Eruku, and they began to gun people down in the church. And they kidnapped almost 35 members of the church. We want government to help us, to give us assistance.
With additional 900 troops sent to the states by the federal government and the existing security measures the state already have in place, residents of Eruku and other parts of Kwara South are optimistic that the security challenges in the area will soon become a thing of the past. Aisha Abubakar Yahaya, NTA News.
Nigeria and Singapore are strengthening ties in technical and vocational education following a bilateral meeting between Nigeria's Minister of Education, Dr. Maruf Tunji Alausa, and Singapore's Minister of Education, Desmond Lee. A statement signed by the Director, Press and Public Relations of the Federal Ministry of Education, Folashade Boriowo, says both ministers reaffirmed the long-standing relationship between the two nations and agreed to develop a new cooperation framework that expands collaboration beyond TVETs into broader education and skills development. As part of his engagement in Singapore, Dr. Alausa toured the Institute of Technical Education, ITE, visiting its West and Central colleges. The minister also held further meetings with the leadership of ITE Education Services, where discussions progressed on revisiting the existing MOU between ITEs and Nigeria's National Board for Technical Education, NBTE. Proposed areas of partnership include quality assurance support for 3 Nigerian colleges, strengthening the JAMCET initiative, launching a 3-year AI applications program, leadership developments for institutional heads, and expanding train-the-trainer programs. The Federal Ministry of Education reports that these engagements comes as Nigeria rolls out its new free education initiative across federal technical colleges and selected states technical colleges. And at COP30 in Belem, the Federal Capital Territory Administration is advancing its drive for a greener and more climate-resilient Abuja. It is engaging global partners to mobilize climate finance with focus on decarbonizing public transport and strengthening urban development across the territory. Charles Alpha reports.
The Federal Capital Territory, like other states in Nigeria, is not immune to impacts of climate change. It is experiencing increasing pressure on infrastructure, public health and livelihoods, with floods, erosion, heat waves and pollution becoming more frequent.
As climate risks intensify, there's an immediate need to accelerate climate resilient development.
At COP30 in Belem, the Federal Capital Territory Administration is showcasing its climate action plans while seeking new partnerships and financing to strengthen low-carbon and climate-resilient development in line with Nigeria's nationally determined contribution 3.0 commitment.
He sent us to be here to be able to interact with other agencies to see how we'll be able to look at the area of transportation, which he has already started with the buses that are bought on the rail line.
The key features of the e-bus is electric plate of 100% zero emissions, the buses, and then it has 80 passengers capacity each of the bus, and it has a smart digital tracking, route planning, and tracking payments between.
With the rapid growth of the FCT, key priorities include clean urban transport, renewable energy expansion, pollution control, ecosystem restoration, and flood management. A major focus at the summit is the push for green mobility, highlighted by the e-bus mass transit initiative, which is introducing Abuja's first fully electric bus system. The project is expected to cut thousands of tons of carbon emissions annually, improve commuters' experience, and create new jobs while supporting Nigeria's energy transition goals. In another development, Kano State presented its efforts to accelerate green climate solutions and explore emerging opportunities for the country.
As I have highlighted in my presentation, we have been able to showcase, the policy framework that Kano State have, not just the policy, the action plan, and when we integrated that action plan and what it entails. We have also spoken about the potential that Kano State have, particularly in the areas of circular economy.
In Belem, Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Adopting nature-based climate solutions and strengthening rural livelihoods are emerging as key strategies for restoring degraded lands and driving smart agriculture as the global climate talks COP30 gradually wind down in Brazil. Nigeria's National Agricultural Land Development Authority, NALDA, is among those showcasing advanced programs in land restoration, plantation, development and carbon credits generation. Charles Alpha tells us more.
It was a moment to showcase practical contributions to global climate solutions, share knowledge and strengthen collaboration on nature-based approaches that support mitigation, adaptation and sustainable land use. From landscape restoration and agricultural transformation to plantation rehabilitation, the National Agricultural Land Development Authority demonstrated tangible progress, working to regenerate fallen trees for carbon sequestration, restore degraded lands, and create rural livelihoods that boost national food security. Executive Secretary of the National Agricultural Land Development Authority, Cornelius Oluwasegun Adebayo, while highlighting the authority's ambitious plantation carbon roadmap, said it provides a clear pathway for placing over 20,000 hectares of plantation under effective monitoring, reporting and verification. It also targets the rehabilitation of aging stock and the development of special plantation projects designed to generate high-integrity carbon credits under its biodiversity enhancement program. As global conversations continue around the integrity of carbon markets, finance flows and climate justice, Nigeria is positioning itself as a country that brings solutions, not problems. In Belém, Charles Alpha, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International. We'll take a short break now. We'll be back. The United Nations Security Council has called for collective efforts to eradicate terrorists in the Sahel region and across Africa. This followed a motion presented by the President of Sierra Leone, Julius Maada Bio. Musa Babaliu tells us more.
The Sahel region comprises 10 countries including Nigeria, Cameroon and Mauritania. Each of these nations is grappling with various forms of insecurity primarily driven by terrorist activities. Records of the Global Terrorism Index indicate that 5 of the 10 countries most impacted by terrorism worldwide are located in the Sahel. From January to November 2025, the Central Sahel alone recorded approximately 450 terrorist incidents, resulting in thousands of deaths and the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people. There are growing concerns that without decisive intervention, terrorism could spread and destabilize the entire African continent. This alarming trend prompted Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio to call for a special session of the United Nations Security Council dedicated to the issue.
Terrorism in the Sahel is such a threat. And as you all know, when Africa's peace is threatened, the world cannot remain safe. If Africa burns, the world will feel the heat.
It is in this context that ECOWAS ministers of defense and finance met recently to agree on the activation of the standby force. The plan is to start with a brigade of 1,650 strong personnel and increase it to 5,000 gradually.
The United Nations Secretary General, as well as the governments of the United States, United Kingdom, France, China and Russia, have also expressed grave concerns over the escalating humanitarian crisis in the Sahel.
Now is the time for dialogue and collaboration among all countries to strengthen the security and political cooperation architecture in the region.
Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali have also vocally endorsed the urgent need for coordinated international action to combat terrorism across Africa. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
A Philippine court on Thursday sentenced a Chinese national, Alice Guo, and 7 others to life imprisonment on human trafficking while masquerading as a Filipina. Uche Ugochukwu completes the story.
A Chinese national who falsified Philippine citizenship to assume the office of town mayor has been sentenced to life in prison on human trafficking charges by a regional court in Manila on Thursday. Alice Gua, who held the mayoralty of a municipality north of the capital, was convicted for managing a Chinese-run online gambling operation where hundreds of individuals were coerced into executing fraudulent activities under the threat of torture. The extensive facility, comprising office buildings, luxury villas, and a large swimming pool, was raided in March 2024 following the escape of a Vietnamese employee who alerted authorities. Authorities discovered over 700 individuals of diverse nationalities, including Filipino, Chinese, Vietnamese, Malaysian, Taiwanese, Indonesian, and Rwandan at the site, along with documents indicating Gua's position as president of the corporate entity owning the premises. Although Gua had been elected mayor of Banban town, a Manilan court determined in June that she was undisputedly a Chinese citizen and therefore ineligible to hold the municipal office. On Thursday, Gua and 7 other defendants, all participating via video conference, were each sentenced to life in prison, according to State Prosecutor Olivia Torrevillas, outside the regional courthouse in Manila. Gua was apprehended by Indonesian authority in September 2024 after fleeing the Philippines. She remains subject to separate charges, including money laundering and corruption. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Through sustained women ICT empowerment, Nigeria is laying a solid foundation for a digital future where women can thrive, innovate and lead. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu stated this at the closing ceremony of the 3rd edition of Renewed Hope Initiative and National Information Technology Development Agency ICT training program for 320 women. State House correspondent Adeniyi Taiwo reports.
Yes, 320 women strong. They form the 3rd cohort in the series of RHI NITIDA Women ICT Training Program. With the successful completion of their 3 weeks ICT skills acquisition training, they now join the League of Women who are promoting a shift in the digital landscape of the country. While presenting them with their certificates and starter packs, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu applauded their determination and creativity, urging them to leverage their new skills for personal and societal development.
You all stand today as ambassadors of digital literacy, women equipped not only to improve their own lives, but also uplift those around them. I am confident that the knowledge gained during this exercise will spark innovation, entrepreneurship, and empowerment in months and years ahead for all of you. I encourage you to apply the skills you have learned, pursue continuous growth, and mentor other women and girls to embrace opportunities in the digital space.
Nigeria's quest to achieve a $1 trillion economy can only be realized with a digitally empowered economy. So, the First Lady craves more digital inclusion for women, herself leading from the front.
Most of us, wives of executives, we don't even have the training all these girls have. So you are going to organize one for us. We have to create 10 days in the new year. So anyone who is interested that want more computer literacy, let us know in the Abuja sector though.
The future is the gig economy, says Director General of NITIDA, Kashifu Abdullahi, as he reiterates the agency's commitment to sustained human capital development through collaborations and promotion of digital literacy in schools.
To use this tool as your gateway to the world, to use it to empower your families, to use it to empower your communities. We also want you to pass the knowledge you've earned to 2-3 women in your communities.
Thank you for impacting in our growth, believing in us women, and creating a platform for us to grow.
You've empowered 100 women today, but we are giving you our weights that we will go back and empower millions of women.
From the initial 35 beneficiaries in 2023, RHI NITIDA collaboration has so far empowered 607 women with ICT skills, alongside other initiatives, including the provision of ICT community centers across the country. From the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa, Adeni Itaiwu, NTA News.
The federal government has declared Katsina State and 15 additional local government areas in the country open defecation free. This brings to 2 the number of states that have attained statewide open defecation free. The status, as well as 158 local government areas. Usman Zubairu reports that the certification was announced at the 6th anniversary of the Clean Nigeria Use a Toilet campaign held in Abuja.
6 years into this ambitious campaign, the nation pauses to celebrate not just policy success, but the victory of human efforts at the grassroots level. The ODF status is given to state-owned communities where everyone uses safe hygiene toilets and no one practices open defecation. Vice President Kashin Shettima's message was delivered by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Humanitarian Affairs and Development Partners Ina Binta Audu. In it, the Vice President said an open defecation-free Nigeria is not a dream, but an achievable reality. He added that the administration is committed to reverse 2030 target.
Is not a privilege, but a fundamental human right, and is essential to achieving the sustainable development goals and the renewed hope agenda of this administration.
Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Jesse Hussein, restated the federal government's resolve to ensure that Nigeria is totally open defecation-free by the year 2030.
Being the 6th anniversary of the Clean Nigeria Use the Toilet campaign, we are reminded that much remains to be done. We need to intensify our efforts, strengthen partnerships, and deploy innovative financing and technologies to accelerate progress.
Kwara State continues to prioritize water, sanitation, and hygiene wash as essential components of human capital development.
High point of the event were the presentation of ODF certificates to Katsina State for attaining a statewide open defecation-free status, and 15 local governments in the country that have recently attained open defecation-free. Usman Zubairu, NTA News.
All right, thank you for being part of the news. I am Comfort Fashion, and my sign language interpreter has been Shegun Ajayi.